Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show for college football week 5. Of course, this is a show where we talk to Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook, and he graciously gives us all the notable information that he's gotten over the past week in terms of betting action in college football, sharp action, public action, and everything else in between. Brent from BetDSI, thanks so much for being back with us. The Sharps had a pretty good week in college last week, 8-5 overall. They're 20-17. Is that about what you would expect from these accounts over the span of weeks, 54%, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look over the long term and you take in, wager units like that, and I think that's probably what could be expected long term. I mean, we've been doing the show like so long, and guys will grind out for a couple of weeks where you're just kind of breaking even not, lose small or whatever. And then there's weeks where they're going to win like 3 or 4 units and back-to-back weeks and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, long term, that's kind of something that you would expect, to see with college and pro. I mean, the guys are as good in pro as they are in college. So yeah.
But I mean, in college, would you expect from these accounts I'm talking about, would you expect to see 54% or something more like 56%?
I think they're a little higher. You're closer to 56, yeah. And honestly, it's interesting because I recently ran the report for NFL, and they do just as well in NFL as they do in college. Mm-hmm. I found it a little bit surprising, but I mean, I think part of it is because there's so many games with college football is that they'll take that small edge. I mean, they don't look for a huge edge; they look for a small edge and apply it over a huge wager amount and a huge volume number of games, and all of a sudden, you can hit a small winning percentage, and you look at the balance at the end of the year, and it's like, wow. This guy made a lot of money. All
right, awesome info, background info, as always, Brent. And the first game I want to ask you about is Louisville-Clemson. Now, we saw a huge move on this one, right? Louisville opened as about a 3.5-point dog. Now they're a 2-point favorite, and that's just a massive move for a game like this. I'm assuming that was sharp action that drove it, and my question is the public favoring a side here? And my guess, just based on watching that movement, can we assume that there was big sharp action on Louisville and none back on Clemson as of yet?
Yeah, we've kind of seen this show before, I think, where it was Florida State at Louisville, same kind of situation where Florida State, I mean, it was a situation where Florida State was on the road, but yeah, they opened up as like a 3-point favorite. I think Louisville closed as a 2.5-point favorite. So, I mean, huge swing. You're only going over like numbers like 1, 1.5, and 2 and stuff like that. So it's not like, it's a 5-point move, but it's kind of negated by the 0 and the 1 and stuff like that, which aren't so relevant. But yeah, this is a case where the only sharp money that did come in on this was Louisville +3. That was kind of like the opening number. They jumped on that and it just kind of steadily moved over. Now, we've got, decent two-way action for sure, but my wager count in terms of the actual number of bets I've taken is about 2-1 in favor of Louisville, which suggests the public is also backing Louisville. So in terms of sharp money, I think we'll probably expect to see some dribbles come back of what we call, respectable money on Clemson. We've seen a little bit of, a few drops at the +2. It seems like 2 is going to work. Haven't really taken anything sharp or even pseudo-sharp on Louisville since it flipped to like 1.5 and 2. So it seems like this is kind of like the number that might work for us, 2, 1, anywhere around there. Like I said, the only money we've taken since going to 2 has been pseudo-sharp money on Clemson, but the initial hit was a definite sharp was Louisville +3. Now, when you're grabbing +3 on a team that's now -2, that's what makes you sharp.
Right. And so my question is, how vulnerable of a spot is this for you? Because I could easily see this one going down to the wire and one of these teams winning by 1 or 2 points. If that happens, are you going to get middled? Like, how bad of a hit would you take for that?
Well, you can see it coming down to a 1 or 2 point game, but we're not going to, all right?
But, would that be a disaster situation, or would you just take a loss that you could weather?
No, it wouldn't be a disaster because when we're, the kind of analogy of the numbers, when you open it up right away, your first move when a sharp hits it on the +3, you're going, you're talking about a full point move or a point and a half move right away. I mean, it's not, you don't take baby steps in those situations. You move very aggressively. So you kind of limit your exposure there. Same thing you'll see with totals. I mean, we've got totals of, say, 67.5 like we do in this game. Now, if you take an initial hit at, say, 65.5, you're moving easily a full point, maybe a point and a half because of Louisville's offense right away. And it's like, wow, that's a big move, a point and a half. Well, when your total 67.5, maybe it's not so big. And you definitely want to be more aggressive earlier on. Now, day of the game, that's when you see your 1.5 point moves, your smaller moves for sure. But no, right now it wouldn't be disastrous. And like I said, I think we're going to get good two-way action roughly around Louisville. Just my feel for it right now is Louisville, -1, -2 around there seems to be something that's going to work for us going into Saturday.
All right. So then the initial hit was on was a sharp bet on Louisville at +3. But then what kept on driving the number up to -2? Is that just public action?
Yeah, mostly public. Like I said, the count is 2-1 in favor of Louisville. If I look at my, the total handle on the game, it also favors Louisville. So, I mean, you're just kind of moving because, A, you've got more bets on one side and you've got more money. So you just kind of creep up until you start getting something back. And we kind of found the point at Clemson +2 where we started getting respectable money back on Clemson +2. So we're not talking about people who are on, quote, unquote, the list, but guys who, will at worst break even over the long term.
All right, awesome info, Brent. Then the next thing I want to ask about is Wisconsin and Michigan. Wisconsin, of course, off of the huge upset win, but Michigan's been an absolute juggernaut, and I'm assuming that Michigan is now one of these teams that's just a big public side week in and week out. I would assume they're a big public side this week as well. Is that true?
No.
No, really?
There's my short answer for you.
Is that true? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this is another situation where, in terms of volume, is just fantastic. I mean, the obviously no surprise that Louisville comes in, the volume has been fantastic, but this game is really big in terms of volume and really good for us. In terms of my wager count, I actually have slightly more wagers on Wisconsin.
Wow.
I have slightly more money on Michigan right now, but it's not that anything like super sharp came in on Michigan. Just a couple of big hits when it was -10. What I'll call very respectable money, not sharp guy, not list money yet, but guys who you respect long term definitely came in on Michigan minus the 10. That's why the move up to 11. Since going to 11 in terms of sharp money, we're pretty much balanced. Even we're back and forth action that way. And like I said, with my count in terms of the actual number of wagers, I've taken slightly more bets on Wisconsin. So it seems like Wisconsin's getting respect from the public, taking the +11 and even +10.5. They chimed in. So again, this is a situation where if you see a big move the other way in terms of this line dropping back down to 10, it was like I said, pseudo sharp, respectable money that came in at the -10. Now, if this number drops back to 10, you can figure it's probably sharp money that drove it down there. And again, because the public seems to be favoring Wisconsin. On the contrary, if this line goes up higher, you can figure that more sharps came in on Michigan because, I mean, right now we've got good two-way action, slightly more public action. So if anything, the number might drop because you're going to find some sharps on on Wisconsin. But if it goes up, you're going to know it's sharp money because the public doesn't seem to be jumping on Michigan in this game.
Man, Brent, I'm telling you, when I hear something like this, a game like this where the public is actually favoring the big dog, that tells me that Michigan as a favorite is probably a great bet. Just based on just my experience, is that an assumption you would make as well, or do you think that's not totally accurate?
Yeah, it's an assumption, and like I like to look back a lot and see kind of how the lines moved and stuff like that, because you can get a good impression in terms of where what's driving numbers when you see it. Like a case like this game, for example, with the public is kind of like both ways on the game, maybe slightly favoring Wisconsin. So if we have pseudo sharp money on Michigan and that line goes up to 13, you can be damn sure that was sharp money that came in on Michigan. Now. There's too many guys who come in on the day of the game, and I just don't know. I don't have the crystal ball to see where they're going to go. But if that line drops, you're probably sure it's a mix of sharp and public money.
All right, sounds to me like Michigan is the side after hearing what you have to say about it. Then the next game I want to ask you about, Michigan State and Indiana. We have seen a notable move in this game, right? It opened at 7.5. Now it's solidly down to 6 or 6.5. That's a strong market-wide move across the 7, and I'm guessing that had to have been a big sharp play from someone somewhere on Indiana, right?
Yeah, or more than one person, Peter.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I've actually got 3 different sharps involved on Indiana. Which
really?
That's quite a statement, I think, just in itself. Wow. Yeah. Initially, the +7 -05, I had money line action on Indiana as well, and +6 even money also on Indiana. So definitely one-sided sharp action on Indiana. Just delve into my count here. Taking this is kind of a good indication when I look at the parlays and teasers and stuff like that. It's almost like 5-1 in favor of Michigan State. So you've got what we've talked. We've invented this phrase of the sharp public split.
Yeah, we did. We coined it.
We did. This is
we're pioneers of the industry, Brent.
Well, we're pioneers of something, at least. So this is the case where the public is all over Michigan State right now. Like I said, almost like 5-1 when you count straights, parlays, and teasers. But I have 3 different sharps involved in this game. Again, +7 -05 was the first hit. Another big hit was Indiana, +6 even money. Right now, we're actually Michigan State 6 $15. And I did mention money line action that came in on Indiana. That was +205. They're down like +180 right now, +185 out there. So it's big moves in terms of the action coming in on Indiana for sure.
Wow, sharps all over Indiana. I'm not surprised that there was sharp action on it based on the movement. I am a little bit surprised to hear how strong it's been. All right, we'll see where this line closes. So if the line does wind up, closing at 7 or 7.5, can we assume that means you took sharp action the other way?
Positively.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Awesome info, Brent. Those are 3 specific games I wanted to make sure we touched on. What else can you tell us about notable action from around college football week 5?
I'm just going to rattle through because I got a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Boston College, first game on the list there at 10 o'clock. They're at home to Buffalo now. Buffalo was a sharp play last week at home to Army, catching 14, and they won outright. But sharps are all over Boston College in this case. They laid to 18. We're up to 19.5, and wager counts almost like 3-1 in favor of Boston College as well. So I'm getting sharp and public money on Boston College there. Louisiana Tech dropped down to them. Louisiana Tech, they're up to like a 22-point favorite at home to UTEP. The sharp money came in on Louisiana Tech at minus 21. So I'm pretty much one-sided there. I've got a wager count and money out almost like 2-1 in favor of Louisiana Tech. Drop down. Just want to mention the other game right below that is Florida Atlantic and Florida International. Just one of those games where you don't expect a lot of like great hot two-way action, but we do have it on this game. I had some sharps laying 4.5, but more sharps did come in on Florida International plus 7, minus 110, and plus 6.5. So if you see that line drop down, just to let you know, like look to something to look for. If you see Florida Atlantic drop down to 4.5 and 4, that was even more sharp money on Florida International. So I'm not
actually,
one of the.
Yeah, Brett, I mean, if you remember last year, that was the FIU game from last year was one of the biggest sharp plays of the year. I remember this from our show. The sharps were all over Florida Atlantic, and that one wound up cashing, remember?
Do I remember the FIU game from last year, Peter?
Yes, I expect you to remember this stuff, Brent.
I couldn't tell you what I had for breakfast today.
Really? So I'm the only one who's that demented that I remember there was big sharp action on Florida Atlantic last year, and Florida International looked like it was the right side based on recent performances. But then when you told us that a ton of sharp action came in on FAU, I was like, wow, that's the side they wound up covering easily. You don't remember this, Brent?
Well, you're taking my word for it. I'm going to take your word for it.
Okay. All right. So there's sharp two-way action on the game this year, and you're saying that it's split between the sharps this year.
Yeah, I definitely have more sharp action on Florida International. So that line, like I said, at plus 7 and plus 6.5. I did get sharp action on Florida Atlantic at the minus 4.5. So I'm just kind of looking at, like, right now, we're doing this on Friday, so Florida Atlantic is a 5-point favorite. I'm just mentioning this in case the line does drop down. You're going to know it was more sharp action that came in on Florida International.
Right.
If it goes back up, the sharps went the other way. So just kind of something to keep your eye on. That's all. Another barn burner is Ohio at Miami of Ohio. Right now, just the sharp action I have on this one is the total. They came in at under 55.5. Right now, we're sitting at 52.5. This is, a good example for us where, we don't mind when sharps go under because you're pretty sure that the public is going to go over. And, even a game like Miami, Ohio, I do have public action on the over. My count's almost 2-1 in favor of Ohio. And my money's actually not that bad. So I do have slightly more money on the under, but public is, betting the over as they tend to do. So we're still at 52.5, taking public action on the over 52.5. But sharps came in on the under 55.5. That's the Miami of Ohio game. I want to drop down to Maryland now. Maryland's at home to Purdue. Maryland a 10.5-point favorite, and that was sharp money that drove it to 10.5 from minus 10. So I took sharp action on Maryland minus 10.5. Pretty one-sided action there as well. So wouldn't be surprised if that line popped up a little higher. Now, again, we open up at 10, so going 10.5 to 11, even 11.5. It's not something that we're going to sit there and sweat the middle or anything like that. That's for sure. Dropping down, where do we go next? Southern Mississippi, go down there. Southern Mississippi at home to Rice this weekend. They are a 25-point favorite right now, and sharps being sharp grabbed Southern Mississippi early minus 21.5. So quite a big move there. It's almost like a 3.5-point move. Southern Mississippi minus 25 right now. Not a whole lot coming back on Rice, which maybe is no surprise at all. North Carolina State at home to Wake Forest. NC State is now a 12-point favorite, and sharps jumped on NC State early minus 10. Got actually more wagers on Wake Forest, so that's kind of not a bad situation for us in terms of people. The public is betting Wake Forest, which is kind of nice for us. This looks like it's going to set up as a public sharp split because I have almost like 3-1 my wager counts in terms of number of bets taken on Wake Forest, but the sharps did play NC State minus 10. Down to Arizona and UCLA, we have a total play there. The Sharps came in at under 60.5. Total right now is 58.5. And like I talked about earlier with the totals, my wager count is almost 3-1 favoring the over, so that's kind of a good spot for us. USC, that's another kind of a big move. They're up to a 10-point favorite right now. They're at home to Arizona State. Sharps came in on USC early in the week at minus 7.5. Indiana, we talked about that one being a very sharp play. And down to UL Lafayette at New Mexico State. UL Lafayette, sharp play there at minus 4.5. We're up to like minus 5.5 right now. And nothing but sharp action there on that game. Not really much coming back on New Mexico State at all, but the Sharps came in on Lafayette, minus 4.5, Peter.
Wow. That's it for the sharp action for College Week 5?
That is.
All right. Good luck to the Sharps this week, and we'll talk to you again next week for College Week 6.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.